everybody, welcome back to the real Chinese top tier, this time with the J-8B. If you've ever thought to yourself, man, the MiG-21 is just too small. I wish there was a big MiG-21 I could play. Well, I have just the thing for you. The J-8B is a scaled up version of the J-7, so they really just gave it a longer nose and slapped a second engine in there and called it good. This gives it an insane amount of acceleration, and actually having good missiles, the PL-5Bs, which, I mean, this may be kind of a hot take, but I've gotten to the point where I like them more than the Magic 2s. They may not be, like, objectively better, but I was just having so much more fun with them. The combination of both speed and armament lets it be everything the Kafir wishes it was. You get to go into space up above where everybody's radars are looking, or you can just hit the deck with the first in, last out mentality. It also has the Espide missile, which is a radar missile that is pretty good. I'd say it's better than a Skyflash in an AIM-7E2. The only thing is that the J-8 doesn't have pulse Doppler, but it doesn't really matter because the normal search and track radar this thing has is honestly quite cracked. It just doesn't care about ground clutter for some reason, and a lot of times likes to ignore chaff. I wouldn't take more than one Espide though, because the situations you get to use them aren't the most plentiful. You'd rather just have the extra PL-5B. And a lot of the times, I'll even just use 4 PL-5Bs and just forego the radar missiles. They're just that good. They're 30G missiles, so they're highly maneuverable, but it also has long range, but not in an AIM-9G sense where it just burns for a really long time. This thing will burn through all of its rocket fuel in just a couple of seconds, giving it an insane amount of acceleration. Plus, it also glides really well, so you can hit some really long-range shots, with the missile only visible for just a couple of seconds. The glaring weakness of the J-8, though, like any other Delta, is the speed bleed in a turn. It's useful in situations like this, where this F-14 just isn't paying attention and can't flare my missile, but generally, the speed bleed on it means that you're not going to be able to take extended fights. Even though you have what is essentially 2 J-7E engines, the amount of acceleration they put out just isn't enough to counteract how much speed you bleed. Don't worry though, you're relatively survivable. With your acceleration, you can usually dash away from people if you just hit a straight line, and the J-8 also has large caliber countermeasures, making it basically immune to IR missiles, and if you know how to defeat radar missiles as well, you'll be golden. Now, this does have the same radar warning receiver as the MiG-21 SMT. It's not the greatest, but you can generally figure out where people are coming from and hit the notch. I think it's safe to say I climbed a little bit, despite this person's unwavering leadership. At this type of altitude, you're generally above where F-14 players are looking, so you're not very likely to get hit by a Phoenix, or for that matter, any other missile, as you're so high up that you generally don't even go spotted. This gives you the luxury of just picking and choosing your targets. I tend to try and find people in the back who aren't very likely to get engaged by my team, as this gives my missiles the highest likelihood of hitting. There's some random dot in the distance that I just fire a missile at. I don't really care how far away it is, because at these types of speeds and altitudes, that missile is going to be able to go like 10 kilometers in range. And yep, it finds its target, an F-14 that I probably launched on while he was like 8 kilometers away. I get fired upon, and my first instinct is, oh no, that's a radar missile. So I go down to try and hit the notch, but then I realize it's a MiG-23, and that's probably an R-24T. I just pop countermeasures once, and it already stops tracking me. Head-on infrared missiles are already a little bit of a gimmick, and when I'm paying attention, it's super easy to one-flare something, even as strong as the R-24T. Too bad I can't hit a single shot to save my life, though. I dove down to the deck, as I don't want to sustain that fight with the MiG-23, lest he clap me, which is, not the best idea. Once I get down here though, there's actually an F4E, and I'm gonna dogfight him with him starting behind me. I'm pre-flaring a little bit, as I'm not really looking every which way. I'm mostly focused on this F4E, and I would rather just not have a missile launched at me in the first place. The thing is, this F4E does literally everything worse than me, except for maybe the first turn at high speeds on minimum fuel. But that's not the situation we're in now, are we? I go vertical here just so I can loop over the top and just abuse my engine power a little bit. And this F4E is going to take this time to try and dive down to the deck and get away from me. I pull my flaps all the way out to cut my turn a little bit tighter so I can get around the circle a little bit faster. And I'm going to queue up a missile to launch. I'm once again starting at altitude, as that's where the J-8 thrives the most. If you can get past the enemy team, you just have free reign to drop PL5s at them from space. I launch on that F4E, and he's going to be dying right now. I launch on a second person who I don't even know, but that's a bit of a longer shot, and because they're on the deck, the air is thicker down there, giving the missile more drag, and it actually doesn't reach the target. So I'm going to go for these F4Es again. I launch... Oh, hello F14. What? Okay, I get a kill on the F14, and then I launch on another Phantom. Luckily for us, because we put so much momentum behind that PL5, even though he was 5 kilometers away, it was still able to hit. Wow, would you look at that? I'm actually doing what the J-8 was designed to do. This thing is actually an interceptor, and you can tell by its insane climb rate. I queue up in a Speeda here as I switch loadouts from the PL5s so that I could have a head-on missile to take against this F-14, who I used a blind hunt on so I could know where he is. We're jousting missiles right now, so I dive to the deck and turn a little bit to put more distance between me and his missile, and his slams into the ground. Unfortunately though, I lost the lock on mine, but I get a gunshot in and I'm able to crit him. He's forced to fly straight at this point because with his damage to his elevator, he's not really able to take a dogfight. I loop back over the top and launch a PL5 at him, and it strikes home. He doesn't even attempt to flare. A lot of people would like to see the Python missile added to the game, which is only really needed on the Kafir, even though these Chinese aircraft could carry them. But like, look at the launch on this PL5. I don't even care what distance I'm launching it at, I just see a dot randomly down low, and drop it on him, which would have gotten the kill, but he ended up ripping himself right when I get a hit with my missile. I launch on this F4E, who also doesn't stand a chance, and that was nearly a head-on launch. That was like 70 degrees. These things are insane, and you can never go wrong with having them. The new J-7D Premium that's coming for China is going to have the option between Magic 1s and PL5s, and if you're going to pick that thing up, though it's $70, I don't recommend it, I would take the PL5Bs on it. They're honestly the best rear aspect infrared missile in the game, and I would take them over R60Ms, which are all aspect even. And you guys saw how much fun I was having with those in the Su-17. Normally, I don't recommend firing missiles at F5s, especially with how cold their engines are, but that goes out the window if they're just completely not paying attention, like this F5E I just launched on. It's a lot scarier than the F5C, so I'd like to get it out of the match, and the Tomcat was too far away. One of the biggest satisfactions of using the PL5 on the J-8 is that you have to wait like 10 seconds for your kills. It's not like the AIM-9G where you can watch it burn all the way to the target. It goes invisible after a few seconds of burning, so you have to sit there in anticipation, just hoping that you think the missile will hit. Now, unfortunately, this F-14 didn't die, so I launch another missile at him, but knowing War Thunder timing, he exploded right when I got my missile off. I loop over the top to find a gaggle of F-5Cs behind me, and with one missile left, I'm going to use it on the person who's paying the least attention. Now, you wouldn't think that's the person who just flared, but actually, he just completely stops paying attention after that first flare drop. That's all for this video. Thank you all so much for watching, and remember to subscribe if you enjoyed it, as I'm trying to hit 5,000 subscribers before the end of the year. Also, there's the Discord server. If you'd like to be part of a growing community of active War Thunder players, make sure to join that. Otherwise, that's all for this video. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.